Hello and welcome to the Super Salty Podcast with me, Neelesh, and my co-host,
Max Wallace. I'm here with my primary host, Neelesh. Welcome to Super Salty Podcast. I just want to make sure that your name was mentioned twice.
I
just felt like you deserved it today. You've had a hard time over there. What with the outbreak?
Okay, we're hitting the order of the things on the list wrong, but okay.
I
am straight up slap bang in the middle of the whole southeast UK coronavirus outbreak. Basically, it happened in Brighton, so I was like, maybe we won't go see Birds of Prey. And then it's also happened the exact distance in the opposite direction, on the other side of me, as well, in, I don't want to say the town, but, my parents work there, literally round the corner from the hospital that the A&E staff were found to have had it. So,
okay.
And as I showed you a map, it's kind of just dotted along all this area. And you made this joke that, oh god damn it, that Walsh family, and I didn't realise on the map it was mentioning individual names, which they might as well be posting their goddamn address at this point. A lot of people were like...
Yeah, it's like, Miss Walsh attended yoga class here at 11:30. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's the sun. There's a lot of problems with the sun right now. It's a really, really... I'm a bit concerned, but also it is effectively just like having the flu and then you get over it, unless you're really young or really old or you have some sort of existing precondition. But I'm pretty healthy, so if I had it, it would be fine. But I just hate being sick. And my girlfriend and my neighbours have both told me I'm definitely a hypochondriac about the situation. And yeah, I am, but it's because I hate being sick. I absolutely hate it. Man flu
it puts a pause on sort of everything in your life.
God. Mm-hmm. And I think just as men, we're just
fan.
worse at dealing with being sick than women are. They're way more resilient.
I don't have a preparation. There's no etiquette. I just don't do the things I should. I'm like, I should be eating soup or drinking this or doing that or drinking enough water, and I just am too busy being miserable, so I just don't. Yeah.
Well,
I've been putting off getting my flu shot too. I haven't gotten my flu shot, dude. I'm like an anti-vaxxer on myself out of laziness.
Don't even start that anti-vaxxers. That's the reason measles has come back in your country. you dirty people. Speaking of dirty people, right? So
yeah.
The coronavirus was said to be in a nearby town, and I actually had to go shopping, right? And I think it's just firstly, you can hear people talking about it but I feel fine. Well, of course you do, because if you're a carrier, you wouldn't feel it until maybe 2 to 4 weeks. That's not the point. But everyone is subconsciously sniffling and coughing and stuff. And I thought this is just a little couple of days. People be a bit worried, but they'll realize they're fine. And then I went shopping again. Just for some groceries, and this girl was telling a friend, I feel really sick. I feel really, really sick. And I my momentum of walking, a large vector force was applied to me, and I basically bounced away like a ping pong ball.
You could see the cloud of disease around her radius. I
gave my next door neighbors an oral exam in tell me how you blow your nose. Show me, mime it, because people here, maybe they're just not parented properly, but they don't know how to blow their noses properly, and they're taking the tissue and they're blowing it, and then they're holding it on the snotty end and then blowing it again, and then doing some weird thing where they flick the tissue over their nose like this. This is a really bad mannerism that people learn here, and basically it results in you don't know how to blow your nose properly. You've got snot on your hands and all around your face. You disgusting human beings.
I definitely do that, the half fold, every time anything comes out. Before I go for blow 2.
The half fold is acceptable.
Yeah.
Also, hand sanitizer has been completely out of stock everywhere. And I think it's actually been charged more. I did find a pharmacy, and they were selling small hand sanitizers for one for £2.50, and I got one for me and my girlfriend. I was like, I didn't really pay £5 for just 2 little hand sanitizers. And then I went to Co-op, which is a supermarket, like a bit later, like a couple days later, and they had the exact thing back in there for like £1 each. So, yeah.
Yep. Up, everyone will take some, take their liberties to crank up the prices on things people feel that they need. I love capitalism. It's really cool. I remember when, so around here, lots of storms and kind of things happen. Some floods. Floods are a big thing. So people will just get really paranoid and go to the store and buy lots of big old packs of water.
That happens here.
I used to work at I used to work at Target department store, for those not in the know. Kind of Walmart-y, but it's like a red Walmart. And man, they would put purposely pallets and pallets, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of like water right out front, just to appeal to people's paranoia. It's just, it's right there. It's like, oh, it might be the end of the world. Better buy some Dasani.
Everyone gets that here. Everyone, whenever there's like a danger of like flooding or a danger of like, people don't talk about it, but it definitely happens. Like, things just start disappearing off shelves, especially food, when people think that they're going to be like snowed in or whatnot. Snow to us is like, people act like there's a pandemic, honestly, because we don't get it frequently enough, and there's no infrastructure to deal with it, really. Like, the rest of Europe deals with snow way better. Like, they're prepared for snow, like snow plows and all sorts. Here it's just like, I guess what are we gonna do? But yeah,
it's funny. I think the culture surrounding snow will be changing because of global warming. I feel like I was one of the last generations that got to enjoy consistent, like really thick, like go out and play all day in the snow kind of snow when I was younger, which does not happen anymore. It's a couple inches at most usually. At least this year it was like that. In the past couple of years it's been like that. A lot less snow than we're used to. So people younger than me, that's all they know. So snow's going to be scarier to them because they haven't dealt with it. Like, it snowed enough when I was like 15 that I got to learn to drive in it and deal with it. Go weeks at a time driving through snow every day. But man, as these people grow up and don't have the snow that we did or I did or whatever the hell, I think we're going to be looking at snow a little differently. And that's an interesting thing to think about.
They're going to be snowflakes about the snow.
Dude, yeah.
Another thing about going back to video games and coronavirus, the PS5 and Xbox X will probably get delayed because of the coronavirus. There's actually there's actually quite a lot of PS5 news in the fact that they've learned or estimated how much it costs to make. The PS5 costs $450 to make, which probably means that they're going to retail close to $500. Now, Max, I don't know if you remember, the PS3 retailed at $500 for a 20 gigabyte version and $600 for a 60 gigabyte version, and it was mental.
Oh.
And that translates to the UK about the cheapest PS3 was like £450, and then the one that everyone wanted was closer to like $550. But because they were also quite, I remember them being like almost £600. I didn't find a source for it, but I remember them just being insanely expensive, especially because I was like 13 at the time. But the PS4 costed $380 to make, and it retailed at $399, which is only a 5% increase. So basically, when you make a console, you operate at a really big loss because you expect to make the money back in the following 3 quarters. After 3 quarters, maybe you break even. And then, like, if you want to learn about this sort of thing, you can look up Nintendo have released what kind of expenses they make with like the Wii and how it's basically operating at a massive loss and then getting really rich. So
yeah, it's like a little bell curve, just a little period of time there.
And the question is,
That's
why does the PS5 cost so much to make? It costs $450 to make. And I think what it is that they have, flexed their new solid state drive speed, which is the hard drive. And just for comparison, you and I with gaming PCs probably have SSDs that are running at 500 megabytes a second, which is insanely fast, right?
Sure. Yeah.
The MacBooks actually work at almost 3 gigabytes a second, which is
all right.
Really fast. So when people talk shit about Macs, also I can hear myself. I can hear myself in your headphones again.
Pissed.
It's fine. When people talk shit about Macs, they don't realize how goddamn fast they are. Okay, so like being faster than a PC's SSD is really something. However, like a PC SSD is typically 500 megabytes a second. That's like Samsung and just other SSDs. The PS5 SSD or hard drive is supposed to be supposedly almost 500 gigabytes a second.
Oh my god.
Which means that the bottleneck of the console is really just the processor and potentially graphics card. But
yeah, it sounds like it's like way ahead of the other things.
Yeah,
I feel like
insane.
Cost effective. If you want to be cost effective, you want to have parts that are pretty equal in terms of their bottleneck, is diminishing returns and all that.
Yeah, but like I got to tell you, if like here, if the PS5 costs like almost £500 or over, like £550 is what I imagine it would be. Well, it gets difficult because if it gets scarce, then it actually goes up in price. But maybe it will be like £450. That's quite a lot, really. Especially early on when a console has nothing in terms of games. And let's not fucking lie, like the release titles of consoles are not incredible. Are they?
Yeah, maybe a couple, and then
they usually just like
really. There's not a ton.
They're usually just like a Forza to like flex the graphics, or another sports game.
Yeah, just tech demos, basically.
A game that a studio.
I remember the PS2 I got a PS2 and it came with ATV Off-Road Fury 2.
Oh my lord!
Honestly, not that bad. Like I actually played a lot of that game. It's kind of fun. Was it a title that everyone knew? No, not really.
But like typically,
Sony flex.
You can expect. I mean, I can Google right now PS5 release games, but I don't. I honestly, I'm not convinced.
GTA 4 had the Grand Theft Auto 5 bundles, but that's a PS3 game, really.
Well, I haven't come up with a list by Googling it, so all I saw was games that would likely be on the PS5, which is not the same as a release game. I mean,
sure.
The excitement of a new console generation, especially for game studios, is having something that's so much more powerful, as in, like, then they can then bump the fidelity and the power of a game. And that doesn't always mean graphics. That can also mean like if you take a game like GTA 5, no matter what you do to it mod wise, can't run on like a cheap-ish laptop. Other games you could make happen, but GTA 5 is not one of these games because it has so many background systems, traffic simulations, animation things, and weather systems, and just so
loading
many,
the map.
Yeah, just running the game itself, excluding graphics, is a colossal cost on the system. So
it takes a lot of power to do something like drive quickly in a straight line, where you're like loading a lot of map really fast. It's actually, my computer before I did my last upgrade had a lot of problems with that. And we're talking about a game that came out on the PS3. So, yeah, that's some real shit.
That is some real shit, my dude. I have since we just touched on GTA, I'll just hop onto Rockstar and how Dan Houser, the producer, co-founder, vice president, and most well known for like his writing on the GTA series, he has retired from Rockstar. And a lot of people are like kind of freaking out a little bit because you could argue that Dan Houser is the visionary for the Rockstar stories. Honestly, my my attitude is kudos to him. You know, you got in, you did it, you made one of the best games in the world. You made the biggest selling piece of media on Earth.
That's quite
Like
a thing
Robert
to have under
Downey
your
Jr.
belt. Yeah.
Just know when to step away. You know?
Yes.
Like, just be like,
Sure. Yeah.
made money, things are good right now. I'd like to leave it on a high note. So I think it's great. That's my first response. Like, good for him. But secondly, I think a lot of people are quite worried that, like, without him, the stories in like Red Dead, GTA, and whatever else they go on to make, like Bully, may not be as good. But there are a lot of great writers out there, right? And like,
Yeah, we're talking about an entire world of talented people. I think it's possible to be okay.
and it doesn't take.
Oh, we got my son in the room.
Oh, your
Come
cat.
on up here, boy.
You got Burger.
Yeah, huh? Yeehaw.
Where
Fucking first son is here. He's my fursona.
he's your
that what that
first
means?
owner.
That doesn't make any sense.
You
He's a
could say-
real living being. He's my first son.
He's your first son.
This person is my first son.
There are other writers in the world, and there are other good writers, and Rockstar has a lot of money, and Rockstar can buy other writers. Also, let's not pretend that Dan Houser wrote all of these games on his own. They have people. They have talented people. So I'm really not even remotely, like... I don't even bat an eyelash, honestly.
Sure. Don't bat a Billy Eyelash at that. There's it's not an indie developer. We're talking about a company. I'm sure they run their ideas through a board of directors or some shit like that. I mean, it's, there's more moving parts than just one dude. I'm sure his vision contributed quite a bit, but it's not to say that someone else couldn't do the same thing.
Well, his brother, I think it's Sam Houser, is still there, right? So, like, there's still people who originally made it what it is. Since we're talking about big game companies, I'd like to touch on what Ubisoft is coming out with. So, this year, I believe, Watch Dogs Legion is either out or coming soon. I think it's coming soon. Let's see the reviews, honestly. Like, it just seems like... I get that, like, they have a generator that's making all these characters and stuff, but I don't know if that means it's going to be fun or anything. If it's just the open world Ubisoft style game, climb the towers, unlock the area, that sort of thing. I don't know if the play as anyone gimmick is enough to keep me interested, but also we talked about Rainbow Six and how we'd both like to play Rainbow Six, but also how toxic Rainbow Six is and how you basically have to put up with about 60 hours. Okay, we said 40 hours. 40 hours of just non-stop abuse, and by that time you're probably relatively good at the game. But
yeah, and that's if you're like trying. I've definitely played games for that long, but with a casual attitude, and didn't end up improving a lot. Just because I was sort of playing just because I like how the game felt in my hands, not so much trying to like improve. And I think maybe that's part of it too. Quality practice makes perfect, as they should say.
They want to move in
so maybe,
on the want to move in on the Left 4 Dead style gameplay. It seems with Rainbow Six Quarantine, which seems to be like
I kind of wish that I like that style. Have you played Vermintide?
Nope.
You played the Vermintide games?
Nope.
Ooh boy, they're pretty good. They're definitely good examples of seeing how it's possible to do good things with the Left 4 Dead. I don't want to say tower defense because there's not like a thing you're defending except your group. Take down the swarms and waves games. They're cool. I kind of like them, and they're not. I don't think they're so out there and everywhere that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing some new ones come through. Maybe some features added in, some spin on the format. I'm excited to see if that takes off. It's kind of a good thing. Ubisoft's bunch of big boys over there. I'd like to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I think
they are Ubisoft on one hand, but they do make Far Cry, and I love Far Cry. So I don't know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The last game that we know they're coming out with is called Gods and Monsters, which looks like Zelda if the art style was Fortnite. I don't really know a lot about that. Just want to mention it. They're making a game called Gods and Monsters. But as you said, Far Cry, they have 2 more releases that are unannounced. And Far Cry is probably one of them. Honestly, I'm a little bit burnt out on the Far Cry series, even though I didn't play the last one.
There's a bunch of them out, so like I get that.
Yeah.
Far Cry 4 was the best one, in my opinion. 5 was... I played the shit out of 5. I did not like the ending at all.
Isn't that because 5 takes place in your own back garden?
5 very similar, but no. I think Far Cry 5 is in Montana. But it was, I'll say as a West Virginian, very West Virginia-like. West Virginia-type folks in that game. It's pretty good. The ending is just... I don't know. I don't want to spoil it, but it makes you feel like everything you did didn't matter, and none of your actions mattered. It's like, oh, cool.
That's so sad.
Great. Yeah, a little bit. But I will say, and I haven't played this yet, I think Far Cry New Dawn takes place after the events of that, and so maybe they had that in mind when they did the story. So I don't know. As much as the base game should probably be a nice little present with a bow on it in its own right, without needing a DLC for it to make sense, maybe the DLC makes it make sense. I mean, I'm kind of interested. If it goes on sale or something, maybe I'll pick that up. Far Cry New Dawn. I'm kind of curious.
Obviously,
which ones have you played, by the way?
I played, I think, was 3 the one that was set in like the sort of not Middle East, but like Asia, basically the cross section between a whole bunch of different Asian countries, including like India and China and.
That was 4.
That was 4.
3 had the villain Voss, the guy with the mohawk, and he was like, "Oh, insanity's." They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
I've played both 3 and 4.
3.
I've played 3 and 4.
3's good, actually.
3's pretty good. 3, the villain Voss, he's the
most memorable villain. For sure.
Yeah, because he's a really good actor. He's in Breaking Bad, and he plays a bad guy in Breaking Bad as well.
That's right, and he looks like himself a lot. And I mean, they definitely like modeled it after the real man.
Yeah. Like, Voss says, look at me, I'm the one with the dick. And that's his version of saying, I am the captain now.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Far Cry 3 had the better villain. Far Cry 4, better overall. I like the karma system involved with things that you do. It's cool. It's a cool game. I want to, like, replay it, even though I have 5. The only one I haven't played thus far is Far Cry Primal.
I'm not interested.
I heard that was not. Yeah, I want to say it has Far Cry 4 map, but it's like millions of years in the past because prehistoric.
Assassin's Creed is probably most likely one of them.
I never got into Assassin's Creed.
Ooh,
at all.
What a freaking confession to make on the podcast.
Yeah.
What, did you not play the first one?
No, the only one I've really played, like that I own and like tried to like get far into was Brotherhood, which it was like okay, but it just didn't keep my attention. That's all.
Is Brotherhood the one set in UK, in England? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Basically,
it's an American guy.
Oh.
The present day one was American. And I guess you're Ezio in that game, right? I think.
I have no idea, but I just know that
it's been a while since I've played
the first one showed a lot of potential, but it was very repetitive. And then the second one really hit it home. And with Ezio, and fan favorite is Ezio, and they did a whole Ezio story arc, and the Ezio story arc was great, and it pretty much sort of encapsulated a good period of Assassin's Creed. And then they made more. Okay. Which were okay. Some of them were okay. I think Assassin's Creed, I want to say Unity had ships in it, but also Black Flag had ships in it. I think Black Flag was the first, came before Unity. Basically, you know how people don't know the order of the Fast and Furious movies? I don't necessarily know the order of the Assassin's Creed games anymore.
Me neither.
Thing is, my neighbor has Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is Assassin's Creed ancient Rome sort of stuff. You play as Romans and stuff, and go to Greece and things. That one's pretty. Like, it's pretty nice. So taking the concept of Assassin's Creed and like continuing to put it in different parts of the world, and sort of dropping the whole you play as this dude who's actually plugged into a machine thing. But now it's just like, yeah, you might be plugged into a machine, but really you're there for the historical stuff. And there is some ancestry stuff. I think Unity, basically, you did play as a character that gets plugged into a machine, but the character was you, and it was in first person. Except for when you get plugged into the machine, then you play as a third person character. That was dumb.
The plugging into the machine thing is sort of an interesting world building kind of way of doing things. I mean, when you try to like go out of bounds or like go through a gate or go like leave the area you're doing the mission in, that's the explanation is that like, well, you haven't loaded. That's not part of the program. You don't have the part loaded in. So I kind of like an in-fiction reason to not have it be like fucking Breath of the Wild open world, takes 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other kind of thing. I'm looking at the list, the order of release, by the way, and it was way different than I thought. I mean, these may be like PSP games and shit. I don't even know. I have no idea. But Assassin's Creed 2 is the fourth game. Assassin's Creed 3 is the seventh game.
Thing is, does that include
Brotherhood? The one I have is the game that came out after 2.
Does that include
after 2 was Brotherhood? That's what I have.
Does it include like weird DS releases and all sorts?
Maybe. See, it doesn't list the consoles there. Maybe I should look at it. Like, why did I use Quora.com? Quora sucks. Let me go to Wikipedia. God.
Well, the last game that I think most Ubisoft sort of fanboys... Well, I don't think Ubisoft have fanboys. I think video game fanboys kind of want out of Ubisoft is another Splinter Cell. Because Splinter Cell is great. But the last Splinter Cell was not great. So we would like a return to form for Splinter Cell. Because it used to be that like Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell was on par with Snake from Metal Gear Solid. But it clearly is like Splinter Cell sort of went kind of crappy. And Metal Gear is one of the best things ever. So, apart from the Konami controversy, I guess you'd call it, after Kojima left, Metal Gear sucked.
That was a shit show. Have you seen that clip from the Game Awards where everyone fucking boos Konami?
Yes, I have. Oh
my god.
By the way,
they wouldn't let Kojima accept his award tonight for legal reasons.
That's horrible.
The fuck?
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty damn bad. Konami just wants to make slot machines. They don't give a fuck.
Pachinko machines.
Yeah, that's right. I don't even know what that is.
He's working on his next thing. He started like planning, so like that's pretty dope. I never finished Metal Gear Solid 5. I actually haven't finished Death Stranding.
I need Death Stranding is in my list of games. I got distracted and put it aside because I do that.
I do that too. I start playing Zelda again. That's the problem. I start playing Zelda again, and I didn't realize that in Zelda you can buy a house so that you can put weapons away. And now I've bought a house, and now I need to give. And it's like a small commentary on how young people struggle to get into retail, struggle to get into buying properties. And yeah, I have a house in Zelda, and one day I'll have a house in real life.
Yeah, I remember getting a house in Zelda was it was pretty labor intensive. Lots of like things I had to go get, lots of money. I definitely had to Google it. Like, I don't think I did it naturally. I think I had to be like, okay, I need a place to store this damn stuff. I have these items that I don't want to have on me that I just want to display because I'm not going to use them. I just would like to have them. So the house is the option. And also, if you have the house, you can go back and hammers spawn there. Pretty sure. If you ever need a hammer, they just spawn at the house, which is pretty sick.
It's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had to cut down like 30 stacks of wood, so you had to cut down a whole bunch of trees, and you needed, the house was 3,000 rupees, which is quite a lot in Zelda, honestly. But yeah. I just sold a lot of food. I had loads of food. You can make those fruit dishes out of apples. 5 apples turns it into like simmered fruit, and then you can sell simmered fruit for days. And that's how I basically went bankrupt in Zelda, and then just got back to where I was exactly by selling simmered fruit.
I think my method for the house purchase was to so I found this like sort of this path I could follow in the area where the Gorons are, you know, the Death Mountain, I suppose. And there's lots of precious metals. So if you just sort of follow along the cliff line, you can just find gigantic little veins of precious metals, and get those and sell those bad boys. I think that's what I did.
You have been playing.
You know, that's a testament to how many different ways you can buy a house in that game, and none of them are easy.
Wait, you didn't get the stacks of wood? Did you pay 50,000?
No, I did that. But
cool.
for the rupees,
okay, cool.
I went and sold metal. Got the metal and sold it.
Cool, because the dude initially says 50,000, and that's just insanity for that house.
Yeah, if I see that in a game, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna be homeless.
You've been playing.
I'm not even gonna aspire to that. I'm not gonna entertain that.
You've been playing Delver, which I had a little cheeky gander at.
I've been playing Delver. It's it's a game I had looked at for a while, and I bought it quite a while ago. I mean, maybe over a year ago, and it was cheap enough to where it's like, okay, this is great. I know I want to play this. I'll put it aside. I'll come back to it. No. I finally did, and it is very addicting. So it's, how do I even describe it? So it's a dungeon crawler kind of deal where, much like in The Binding of Isaac, you go around to each floor. Your goal is to ascend to the next floor below. And at the end, something happens. I haven't beaten it yet. And along the way, you find weapons. Some are two-handed. Some are sort of fast, swingy, dagger, low reach type of stuff. There's magic wands of different various effects. Secret doors and things you can kind of, if you're like really looking out for, you can find them, get rewarded for exploring in there. So it's a mix. The floors themselves are mixtures of procedurally generated, like randomly, basically, randomly in big quotes, and completely designed levels that are like, the same every time you find them. There's like one I think called like the Ruined City, and it is the same every time. The
reviews are really good. Recent reviews put it at 92. The all reviews put it at 87. Just in case you want to know what this game looks like, if you think of, imagine if Doom was medieval.
We're talking original Doom, by the way.
Yeah, original Doom, as in the first
like
Doom
2, yeah.
Where the walls are 3D, the textured with pixel art.
It is a 3D game.
Yes.
It is a 3D game. You are moving around in a 3D space.
And it's first person.
But the sprites themselves, like the graphics themselves, the enemies, even your weapon and your hand that you see, two-dimensional.
It's actually really charming. Like the art direction in this game is pretty good.
The music also, which is very important to me. I feel like it definitely like influences how immersed you can get in the game, how fitting the world is around you, that kind of thing. It's real good. Music's real good. And so, I don't know. It's an all-rounder, and it's fun. And makes you want to replay it. I want to say there are certain things you can buy and achieve in the game that are soul-bound, meaning when you die and you start your run over, they affect your next run. So there's this reason to sort of like, oh, well, if I start again, I have like new slots on my belt. Like I can carry more items. Like now I got a slot for my food, and a couple. Put a potion there. 2 different weapons. Put a magic wand there, a bow, some arrows. You just get these little upgrades that encourage you to keep going. And so it's like hard to put down. You sort of play it in like, sessions. You might be anywhere from like 10 minutes to 30 minutes before you lose a run. Maybe longer if you like take your time and are like looking for stuff, and it's cool. It's really cool. I'm a fan. I'm not putting it down yet. I probably have like a little over 20 hours in it, I'd say. It's cool, man.
You've been playing it quite a lot then.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah,
son.
sure. When did it come out? I actually don't know. My guess, 2017.
This makes me feel like we should really do an episode on like indie games, or like indie games that.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like your Super Meat Boy, your Minecraft, your Fez. I mean like more recent indie games that people may not have heard of and stuff like that. I think it's obviously I'm a bit of an inspiring like game maker, so I keep tabs on a lot of indie game projects on Twitter. There's some really, really great people out there trying to make really new and exciting things. Speaking of which, there's a company called Media Molecule. They're a UK-based company. Hideo Kojima actually said he likes their office so much that he based his office in a similar sort of idea to theirs. They made a game recently called Dreams, and Dreams is a game where you make games. And
I like that.
It's PS4. It came out on Valentine's Day, and I'm pretty sure it's a love letter to video games. And there is a music creation tool in there. You can do modeling to some extent in there on a PS4, and apparently you can do really complex logics and all sorts of stuff. I think you would love this. Have you not heard of this?
No, it's called Dreams.
It's called Dreams on PS4. Because you can make music in it, Max, and a lot of people have been like making I don't know, like I guess you could make a SpongeBob SquarePants game in there if you wanted to, and the whole idea is that if you can dream it, then you can make it. You can make a first-person shooter, you can make 2D platformers, you can make 3D platformers, you can make a third-person game. Someone actually remade a level in The Last of Us, made it third person, and so I wish this came out when I was like 12. I think there's an aspect to this that it could be, or I think they were hoping it could be like the next Minecraft. It gives you so much customization and a massive creation tool that you can just make whatever you want. And
$40 too. $40 on PS4 right now. That is not bad.
Okay. Yeah.
For what this sounds like.
It's £40 here. I think maybe that's why people are probably a bit hesitant to give it a go. Really, if this game was on PC, it would murder. It would absolutely kill. If people could just make their own games, the game would effectively be its own game store.
And something that would appeal to, I know you and I, if it was on PC, there would be like really efficient hotkeys all over the damn place for a game like that. You could go so fast if you played the game and got used to it.
Maybe that's the plan. Maybe the plan is to get sponsorship by PlayStation and release a game creation tool called Dreams on the PS4, then bring it to PC. But that's what I want to check out. I'm also a bit concerned that I want to make games, and I am making a game. The motivation comes in and out. To be honest, I don't know if I believe in motivation. It's more of a me thing. Like, I know I have to do something and I should do it. I have this idea that motivation isn't really real. Like, you should just do the thing.
I kind of believe that. I haven't nailed
it.
down what the hell it is, but I'm with you.
Yeah, you can't wait for this thing, this spirit, to embody you to do stuff. You just have to do stuff. I thought someone was coming in the room.
Podcast.
It turns out it's just another thing that's happening in the UK is crazy storms, dude. We had a storm, I think it's pronounced Kira or Kiara, and it was 100-mile-an-hour winds, and I live on the south coast, so we're taking the full force of it. And now it's Storm Dennis, and Dennis isn't as bad as Kiara, but still, I had to pick up my girlfriend yesterday. She organised a hen party, and I picked her up, and I saw her from afar, and she was walking towards the car, and I was like, I can see her walking, but she's not going anywhere, and that's because the wind was just that strong. It was so difficult to walk against.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, what the fuck was I even saying?
I don't know.
I was saying I listened to this podcast. This is on the subject of motivation, by the way. So in terms of my hobbies and stuff, I do lots of little things, but I like music production quite a bit. I spend a lot of time learning sound design, doing everything except actual songwriting because that requires finishing things. And I listen to the Mr. Bill podcast. For those who like the electronic music, Mr. Bill is like this. I don't even know how to explain it. He does like glitch hop, like IDM, super like you listen to him and you hear sounds you've never heard someone synthesize before. Like he's such a creative genius. And I've heard him interview. His podcast is specifically him and a guest, usually another musical artist. And he's been on the subject a couple times about creativity and stuff. And he is somebody that doesn't believe in inspiration. And he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't believe in like there being a correct time to do a creative endeavor. He's sort of boiled his process. He's very prolific too, so it's shown through the way he lives his life. He says the best way to sort of nail something like that down is to have a process. He's a reactive kind of artist. So he says his skill set is being able to look at what he has in front of him, and then and picking the next course of action, the best course of action based on sort of what's already there in front of him. So it's just next step after next step after next step, rather than being obsessed and intimidated by the big picture that's like far in the distance. I think a lot of us deal with that. I know I do in terms of songwriting. It's like, oh, where's this going? And you get that, what I like to call option paralysis, where you can do anything. And so you think about it forever and then end up doing nothing because it's scary to just pick one out of a billion ideas. Shit's scary because then you close yourself off to the other ideas if you pick one. Mm-hmm. So it's scary. But yeah, if you just kind of if you just have a process nailed down and you just trust that you'll make the right decision, or even just, I guess submit to the fact that you'll probably make something not good, and just to continue soldier on anyway. I think that'd be kind of liberating to do. I'm working on figuring that out for myself. It's trickier than it sounds, but it's cool to hear that someone like Mr. Bill is like sort of, I don't know, had that kind of a realization that that's like possible. So I think that's neat.
Well, it's whilst developing this game called Dino Dungeon, which, if you want a short description, is a puzzle platformer game where you unlock more characters and you use these characters in order to traverse the levels, and the level itself is the puzzle. Everyone has a million suggestions, and I have things that I thought would be great in the game too. And I end up with a Trello list, which is like a to-do list where I can move things around, of way too many things. And then, like, the direction of the game can go in all sorts of directions. And you end up with just too much and not anything particularly well-focused, or not, like, a really well-executed vision anymore, which you did have before. That's paralyzing. Like, when
it is.
You have too many options and you just end up not knowing what to do. So you do nothing for a bit. My solution to that was to just completely delete everything that was on there and just look at the game and be like, well, making something, anything, is a conversation, is a dialogue that you have with the thing that you're making. Be it a video, or assume a piece of music, I'm not a musician though, or drawing, or in this case, making games. It's a dialogue with what you're making, where as you continue, it tries to tell you what it needs, and you try to ask it what it needs, and you keep doing that until it's done, until it's finished. And sometimes you can go further when you don't realize that you shouldn't. Sometimes you stop too early. So really, making any form of art is this conversation that you have with this other entity. Really, I sound like Joe Rogan.
And that's not a bad thing unless we're talking about the. Hey man, have you actually seen a silverback gorilla? That thing could fucking kill you, man.
Jamie,
silverback
pull
gorillas. That up. Yeah, Jamie, pull up the silverback gorilla punching. I don't know who's punching me, and I don't know. Don't. If you're everyone, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're a silverback gorilla, don't punch anybody. I'm so sorry.
Me too. I'm super sorry too. One thing that
welcome to the Super Sorry podcast.
One thing that I've got quite good at, because the podcast is pretty much led by me, because I record it and do all the things and stuff, and I hold you hostage from another country to be in this. Really?
Yeah, man. It's fun.
Need to recognize when it's time to end. And when Max starts talking about silverback gorillas and who they're punching and how he doesn't know who he's punching,
and how they'll fucking kill you, man.
We've probably descended to that point where we're just talking gibberish and giggling at each other, and we've stopped being pseudo-professionals and just started being two guys being normal dweebs on Discord. So maybe
it's that time to ask Jamie if it's okay to end the podcast.
I need a Jamie. I am the Joe Rogan and the Jamie, and you're the guest.
WWASGD. What would a silverback gorilla do?
Goodbye. Thanks for coming. The links are in the description. Goodbye. Here, look. Stop recording. Yes.